What dictates how you can move a joint or stretch in your body for a yoga pose? It may not be what you think it is. My name is Christina Raskin. I'm the founder of Soul Thrive Yoga, and here at Soul Thrive Yoga, we love all aspects of the yoga practice, from the mindfulness, the meditation, the philosophy, and also the yoga poses, the anatomy as well. What dictates how much we can move in a joint or stretch into a pose is actually called range of motion, the range of motion for that particular joint. And that is just basically how much can I move in the particular movement pattern that that joint does. And there are three things that dictate our range of motion. Usually what we think of is flexibility, right? The muscles around the joint. How much I can straighten my knee depends on how flexible my hamstring is. So yes, our muscles are one thing that affect our range of motion in a joint. But the other two you may not have thought of. One is the actual joint itself, the skeleton. Believe it or not, all of our joints are unique and individual and built differently. So my shoulder is not built like your shoulder. My hip is not built like your hip. Also, my arm is not built like your arm. So the actual bone structure, how it's put together, will dictate how much you can move in a joint. The third thing that dictates range of motion in a joint are the ligaments around the joint, how tight they are or how loose they are. Some people have ligaments that are a little bit tighter. Some people, hypermobile people, will have ligaments that are a little bit looser. So three things dictate how much I can move in a joint. And of those three, only one, the flexibility, do we have any control over. The joint, of course, is built the way it's built. I can't change that. The ligaments around the joint, I don't want to change that. That is the way it is as well. But the muscles, I could stretch. I could stretch out my hamstring. I can just stretch out my chest to get more range of motion in the shoulder joints. So yes, there is some effect we can have if we stretch out the muscles around the joint. So what does this have to do with our yoga practice? When we're getting into a shape, a lot of times we have this image in our mind of what that shape is supposed to be, right? What the pose looks like. And we think if we work hard enough, if I try hard enough, I'll be able to do the pose like, somebody else does it or like it is in the book. Where really that's not totally accurate, because depending on how your joints are built, your body is going to do that pose differently, which might sound a little negative in the sense of no matter how much you stretch out that muscle, if your bones are put together a certain way, you'll never get into that shape in that way. That might sound negative, but actually it's really liberating to know that I can affect one aspect, yes, but there are other aspects of this pose that are outside of my control, just like life. So we look at these three things, we change the one we can if we want to, we work on some flexibility, sure, and we work on accepting the other two. Loving our body as it is. My hip joint is put together this way, so my warrior two will look this way. Yours will look a different way. Not only is that a beautiful act of self-acceptance and self-love for myself, but also for everyone around me. To know that your body is unique and beautiful, and I can love it just as it is. It doesn't have to look like mine, and mine doesn't have to look like yours, and we can accept all of our variety, and thus all of our yoga poses will look very different. And yes, like I said, if you stretch out a little bit more, maybe you can go into the pose a little bit deeper. There is that one aspect that you can affect, but the other two you can't change. So how do we tell if we've reached our full range of motion in a joint? We follow the sensation in the body. If we feel sharp shooting pain, that's a good sign that we don't want to go any deeper. Also, if we feel what kind of feels like a hard stop, you might be hitting bone on bone in the joint. So that means that the structure, your skeleton, won't allow you to go deeper. So I want you to try this. Put your arms down to your side, turn your palms and your biceps backwards, and then take your arms up. At some point you'll hit this kind of hard stop where the arm is just not going any higher. This is not a flexibility issue. This is the shoulder joint. The bone is hitting the bone and we're just kind of stopped there. If you feel that in a pose where it's not going to go, or if you have this experience of I've been doing this pose forever and nothing has changed. A common one is Baddha Konasana or butterfly pose. If you've been coming for a long time and your knees are here and you're like, I've been coming forever, my knees aren't going down. That's likely not the flexibility in the muscle. That's likely the way the hip joint is built. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful. Then what we work on is acceptance of where we are, not judging, not thinking this is negative or bad. Acceptance. And we still keep doing the pose because we are still stretching, so it's still beneficial. But we work on accepting that and how that shows up in our body. So when you're on your mat next time, think about how your skeleton is going to be different than the teacher. So not every single cue the teacher gives is right for you. Instead, listen to your body, feel your body. If you feel that kind of hard stop somewhere, then know that that's your range of motion in that joint. And accept that, love that about yourself, self-acceptance. And really that is the yoga practice. The yoga practice is about changing and adjusting what we can change and accepting with love, kindness, and compassion the aspects that we can't change.